Rick Moskwa, Director of Public Works, with us today to talk about watering the flower baskets. It's evolved, hasn't it, over the years?
Yes, it has, Tom. It's something I've been involved with since inception, working with the city of Red Wing now for a significant number of years. I worked in the Parks Department. The flower baskets came to us, I probably worked here about 5 years, I would guess, maybe when they came, when we first started them. There was an individual named Phil Revore that had gone to, I believe it was British Columbia, and did some sightseeing and saw these baskets, came to my former boss, Henry Sorensen, who was a big part of the flower basket.
He was really excited about it, wasn't he?
Henry spent a lot of time, his own free time, going to communities throughout the United States in the summertime with a mock-up system of how we did this. He would travel in his van and bring a couple baskets and a small pole and go show other communities what we did here in Red Wing.
Really neat. And how did you first water the baskets? Was it a hose off the roof, or what did you do?
Sure, that's a good question. So when we started the process of doing the baskets, Tom, we had a template from where they had gone and looked at them in the past. Came back, Myers Industry did some work to hang the baskets on the poles. Well, they're tall. They're way up in this. They're 10 feet high, 8.5, 9 feet high. So we had to figure out a way to water those. So we've got a Cushman, and we put a tank in that Cushman, and we used to use an electric pump to pump the water, and we had what I would call as a shepherd hook. It was a tall pole with a shepherd hook with a nozzle on the end, and you'd go from basket to basket and water that way. Then we kind of thought we need something different. We have to prune the flowers as well, so we bought another Toro like Cushman Parks equipment vehicle that had a scissors lift on, and the seasonal people used to be in that scissors lift, and they'd water and prune at the same time, and they'd also be putting fertilizer in there as well. So that was a stage as well. So now we've gone through about 2 different kinds. And then a fellow that came to work for us, Rick Cipher, who was downtown, kind of in charge of that operation down there, thought there's got to be a better way to do this. So he developed what we call, it's an irrigation pipe, it's called funny pipe, where we wrap the poles and then we put a tube across the top and then 2 tubes down, 1 for each pot. And we started watering then where the Cushman still would come by with a tank in it and with a PTO-driven pump to pump the water, and we'd have a hose connection on there, a quick disconnect. We'd pop that in there, and then you just sit there and water the flowers that way. So they really never even have to get out of the Cushman now. They just sit right in the Cushman, just pull up, park alongside, and plug that little deal in, and turn the pump on, and out the water comes. You water until it actually starts coming out. And the reason they do that, a lot of people don't know why we put so much water in it. There's no dirt in there. That's all inert material, which dries out very quickly. So that's why we water every day, whether it rains or doesn't rain, especially in the warmer months. Towards the fall, early in the year, not so much, but those warmer days, we have to water them.
And the water coming out of there with fertilizer in it, I would think that would go right to the river, wouldn't it?
Yes, so that was kind of the next step. So another individual that worked with us in the Parks Department was a gentleman named Bob Johnson. He kind of was our tinkerer to try to figure these kind of things out. And Bob came up with this idea that we no longer could let the fertilizer and the water go into the storm sewer because of our stormwater permit. It was against what we were saying we're supposed to be doing because, as you mentioned, it goes right down to the river. We're very close to the river. So Bob came up with an idea, a simple idea, just his own ingenuity. He took lids off of our automated garbage cans, hooked them up to a hydraulic cylinder, so that when the seasonal kids pull up and start watering the baskets, that's the first thing to do is lift up the basket or lift up the lids. There's a lid for each side. You got to get them in between the pole. And now you water the same way as we did before. Hook the little disconnect up, turn the pump on, and you wait for the water to come out. You have to have water getting out of there. And then it now recycles the water back into the tank. So the majority of the water that comes out on the overflow is caught and put back in the tank, which makes it a lot easier. We don't use as much water, and then we're also not putting that fertilizer down in our storm sewers.
And you're not using as much chemicals either, because you can recycle those as well.
Recycling the chemicals.
Now, how do you fill the Cushmans with water?
So that's an interesting thing. You know, in the early days, we used to use the fire hydrant right over by the Legion over here. And that was a little strong for the size tank. We only had a couple 100-gallon tank. And
it was coming out pretty fast,
yeah,
wasn't
it was coming out fast. And, we're talking about college kids, seasonal kids that didn't have a lot of experience with a hydrant. That was a little tough. So over the years, we've refined that process. And now our building right over by the community garden, behind the Coke building there, we have a building there that we work out of, and we have a drop. They just turn the valve, the pipe drops into the tank, fills it up, they're out of there in about 30 seconds, back out on the road to water the flowers.
That's almost like a shower out when you're out in the woods.
Yeah,
or somewhere,
it's
isn't it?
precisely
Nice.
just like a campground shower would
Cool.
be.
And how do you fill that up?
That is just off of city water.
Okay.
So that's right on the city water line coming into the building.
Nice.
So then one other thing we were going to talk about a little bit was we've done a lot of tinkering over the years to try to make this more of an automated system. We did try a kind of a drip-like irrigation system on Old West Main and in front of the St. James, but it never worked. It worked for the watering part, but the fertilizing didn't get in there, and we put the chemicals in there to take care of this because, like I said, there's no dirt in there, so you have to add some chemicals,
Some kind of nutrients, sure.
to that. So we tried the drip, but it just didn't work. We never could get that to work, so we're back to this process that we have now.
But you're happy with it?
Yeah, we're happy.
But I'll bet you there's people on staff that are going, I think if we hook this up to this.
Yeah, there's everyone has a lot of ideas, and we try to make it as least labor intensive as possible. But it takes the kids about 2 people a good 3 hours a day to do them. Now we've kind of cut the baskets back a little bit from where we were at one time. We get outstanding support from the 2 nurseries, Sargent's and Hallstrom's. They do all the chemical calculations for us and tell us those kind of things of the watering. So they really do a great job in helping us as well with the whole watering process.
All I can think of, this must be a really difficult job because I see those kids start and they look so young, and by October or so they look so old. What's going on there?
So that's an interesting concept. So it costs money to do the baskets, and that's why we reduce some of the baskets. When the seasonal kids go back to college, and typically they're gone by the end of August. They're gone. They're gone before Labor Day. At that point in time, a group of, I'll just call them nice individuals that are seniors that volunteer.
So it isn't the kids aging then?
No, it's the seniors that have gone on or come to us and said they would volunteer to water the baskets, help keep that cost down. And it's been an excellent partnership with the seniors in this regard. They do an excellent job for us.
And do you have enough people, or can people watching this go apply for the job?
I think the seniors would say there's always more room for the volunteers, because the more volunteers, the less time they have to spend doing it.
And where do they apply for that?
I think they go through the senior center.
Okay,
I'm not
all right.
100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure on
They
that.
just magically appear.
Yeah, they appear. I know Ron Sheeman, when I was more involved with it, Ron Sheeman he was one running the program for us and got these folks together. And you can't say enough about how much they do, because not only do they do the watering, when we pull the baskets now, they also come in and dump all of them. You have to dump these baskets and get all the parts. There's a lot of parts to the baskets. So they come, we pull them, we dump them off, and then they clean them all out, clean them up, and then we're ready for the next year.
Ready to go for the next year.
Yeah,
Well, it sure is a nice thing for Red Wing.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful thing. I hear comments about it every place I go.
do too. Good to have you in here today.
All right, Tom.
Thanks a lot, Rick.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Rick Moskwa is the Director of Public Works for the City of Red Wing. I'm Tom Hughes. Thanks for watching Red Wings Channel 6.